So, super excited. Welcome along to a very special edition of Isolation Interviews. It's kind of like a Neighbours 40th anniversary celebration special. I am super excited. The show has been running since the 18th of March, 1985. As you can see, I'm joined by one of the stars of the show. She is probably one of the most popular characters on the show, we have to say. Everyone loves Roxy Willis. Zima Anderson, thank you for joining me. How are you?
I am great, Matthew. And what an introduction that you've given me. I'm like blushing at the thought that you love me so much and that other people do as well. I still get really shocked whenever you say Roxy's one of the favorites. I'm like, really? I'm like, cool.
I think the thing with Roxy is she came in, first time round, she was quite a tearaway child, let's say, but she's really matured, she's really grown up, and she's just a lovable character. There's nothing really, I mean, we'll talk about kind of what she's been up to a little bit since she's come back, but there's nothing really not to like about Roxy. And I mean, for you, do you get a lot of sort of fan reaction from people, and what do people say to you when they do see you about Roxy?
Yeah, they usually people do say that exact thing, which that was my goal in bringing her to life because I was so young when I started, but I also knew that they wanted her to be naughty. But my goal when I first started was I will give her depth and maturity. It will make it easier for them to love me more because it's so much realer when you see people making mistakes. And you have so much more compassion towards someone when you see them making mistakes rather than being a perfect human being. So that was my goal, and that is a lot of the praise and the feedback that I receive when I run into fans or I get comments back. They're like, I just love Roxy. I didn't like it. They always say I didn't like her at the start and I like her now. And I'm like, yeah, but I made you like her.
Now, I mean, we must say the last time we spoke was around about the time that you obviously left the show the first time round, and obviously then the show ended. We now know, unfortunately,
Mhm.
again, the show's ending again. We will talk a little bit about that, but I don't want to dwell too much on that because let's keep on the positives. But for you,
Yes.
when that first time round, when you obviously decided to go, was that your decision? Was that something that you felt you wanted to kind of try new things, or was it kind of because the show was wrapping up and they were kind of trying to sort of disperse with cast, if you know what I mean.
Definitely. So the first was it was my choice. I there's something about when you are in such a beautiful, safe space for the years that I have. I feel like the people that were there raised me in the industry. I owe a lot of my knowledge to them. And in that regards, I felt I was at a period of my life where I needed to expand and grow bigger. And I didn't want to become comfortable in a place where I just wanted to challenge myself. I love Roxy so much, but I really did want to move into other characters.
And I mean, the great thing as well is, she got her happy ending back in 2022, obviously sailing off into the sunset, taking the Ramsey Street sign with her, with Carl, and obviously, heading off to Darwin she was pregnant. She kind of had the perfect life at that point. And were you happy with at that point where the show sort of left things off?
I really was. I really didn't want them to do something crazy and drastic because there's so much drama, and obviously it's a soap, which is amazing. But I do think we all deserve a little happy ending. And Kyle did, and so did Roxy. And I really wanted them to stay together and be happy. And it made me feel really, and I didn't even, they had decided that I was allowed to steal the Ramsey sign, which that was just amazing for me as well. I felt like it also, she left mature, growing with the person that she was in love with and starting a fresh start as the woman she always wanted to be to become a mum. But on top of that, stayed cheeky by like leaving in very Roxy fashion. So I was incredibly pleased with the way that I left the show.
And then getting to come back for that kind of final few episodes that I mean, I imagine for you that was just a joy to be part of all the returning faces. And I mean, I think everyone, I've spoken to a few people who said, you're only a sort of a small part of the bigger cog in that final episode. But that imagine the atmosphere must have been such a weird one because obviously it was sad but celebratory.
Yes, it was. It was so strange and it was such a celebration. And I was just having a great time because I got a really big baby bump. And I was like, that was so fun for me. So I was just having the time of my life because I would make my on-screen husband like I was just acting like I was pregnant. And also everyone that was there, even though I wasn't pregnant, like the makeup artists, they everyone was treating me as if I was really pregnant because they saw me as pregnant and they were like, "Oh, congrats!" And I was like, "Yeah." It was just it suddenly felt like once again, big whole family, everything's real. I'm about to have a child and I'm with the people that I love. So it was just phenomenal. And the atmosphere was really exciting.
Now, obviously, the 40th anniversary is just around the corner, but I mean, you were involved obviously in the
Yep.
35th anniversary, which was quite an amazing storyline because obviously you all got sent to an island, which I believe was just part of Melbourne. And then the whole Finn Kelly storyline kind of came to a draw. That must have been amazing fun to be part of such drama.
Oh yeah, it was so fun. Do you want to know my? I've decided what my favorite thing is as an actor that I get to play with, which is fire. Like that is the funnest things. There's Philippa is one of our stunt women, and she's absolutely amazing. I've been working with her for so long. She like always let me come and have a look at like the stunts. And there's also another really wonderful stunt man, and I'm forgetting his name, but they taught me so much, and to see how they actually set things on fire, and they do. It's not fake, and we get to be right there. It's all safe. That was the first time I dealt with big fire before, and it was the most exciting thing. And we also were running on really late nights, so we were running till all hours of the night. And although it does stuff up your little sleep schedule, I actually quite like it. It's so exciting to be so dedicated and to be excited in the middle of the night while you're shooting things with flames all around you, and then to
I,
go home and act like it didn't happen.
I imagine you have to be a bit. Are you a bit of an adrenaline junkie deep down? Do you love that kind of action?
Do you know what? I've actually just recently really realized about myself that I am such an adrenaline junkie and I always have been. And I didn't think that I was. Um, Only because I didn't like diving boards as a kid. And I decided if you don't like diving boards, you're not that adventurous. But no, I really am. And I, to this day, the more and more that I do or experience in my life, I love action. And that's what I really want to be doing in the future as well, is to do action.
I mean, we'll just briefly mention away from Neighbours, you did get to do like a survival skills kind of show in Australia. I mean, what was that like to be a part of?
Well, see, it was SAS Australia, but we actually filmed it in the Middle East. So it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life, but I also had a near death experience. So it was phenomenally crazy. I trained very hard to do it. The reason that I did it was to realign my career. Obviously, Roxy is so fun and bubbly. I'm like that as a person, and I can be, but that is not me as a person. Like, yes, those aspects are in me, but I am very adventurous. I'm not a girly girl whatsoever. And I train very hard and I love mental challenge. And it was the most craziest thing I've experienced. We were getting buried alive. I was like in Black Hawk helicopters. The near death experience was pretty crazy to have experienced. And I'm very happy that I am alive and well. Um, but it only furthermore, I was like, wow, I really love action and I really am very mentally and physically strong. So that was my experience on that show, which was awesome.
Now, going back to Neighbours, of course, we have to talk about one of the strong bonds since you've returned to the show. The bond that you've got with Rebecca Omloglu, who plays Trace. I mean, I've spoken to her a number of times. She is just a delight. What I mean, stupid question. What do you love about her? I mean, she is fantastic, but what do you love about working with her?
Oh, what I love about Becky is she's so herself. Like when I was younger, and Becky knows this, I was quite a little bit nervous towards her because I didn't know if she liked me or not. And my character was quite annoying at the start. And I was like, maybe she won't like me. And when I came back, it felt like I was so grateful to be around her. She has this effortlessness of totally not caring about what the other people around her think of her. And in turn, everyone loves her. She is so funny, even though she's so playful and stuffs around on set quite a bit. she is serious and professional at her job, and she's really talented at what she does. And she also like, now that I'm older, I really feel like I can look at her and I'm like, I'm really grateful for her to kind of like raise me on the set as well. And now I feel like one of her. I don't feel like a little kid under her wing anymore. I feel like we like sat across from each other and it's like, hey, it's really nice. I'm like, she's like, nice to see you. She goes, you look good. I'm like, you look good. And so it's like two women just enjoying their craft together. She makes any space brighter when she's there.
Now, obviously, returning for the 40th. I mean, how did that come about? What, did you kind of float a seed of I'd like to come back, or was it a out of the blue, we would like you to come back? How did that come about?
Yeah, they just asked me, they were like, are you willing? And I was like, you know what? Yeah. I was like, I will. And that's it. And then I was like, they gave me an option to return. And I was like, I would really love to see all the people that I love, but also see the new people that were on the show and to get to know them and step back into that space where I've known for a while and see different faces. And how talented and wonderful a lot of the new staff and crew and a lot of the new cast are. I've really loved working with everyone.
I mean, being someone that was obviously on it the first time round, and now you're coming back and it's in the sort of the Amazon era, have you noticed much difference, or does it still feel very much like home?
Well, I feel like the nostalgia of it all is just always going to make it feel like home. Um, some of the ways that things are done were a little bit different, but I mean, the sets are still my home, and there's people there that were part of my home, so it just feels like home.
And you must love the fact that obviously coming back, you get to find out what Roxy's been up to, and she's now got a son. Obviously, happy marriage with Carl. So, were you quite excited to find out what Roxy had been up to while you were away?
Yes, I was so excited. I was excited to hear what my baby's name was. I was excited to hear whether or not, because they didn't tell me anything. I knew nothing coming back as well. I wanted to know if they kept Roxy and Carl together. I wanted to know all of these things. And I wanted to know the reason as to why they want to bring me back in too. So it was really exciting. And I was like, I'm a mom now. And so stepping back on set being like, I'm Mother Roxy.
I was going to say, obviously, coming back, was there a part of you that was maybe hoping that Chris was going to come back as well, or did you know kind of that that wasn't going to be the plan?
I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. And I was like, will I have Jet? Will I have a husband? Who knows? So it was really just up in the air. I had no choice or understanding of the matter. It was only when I came in, I think it was the week before, stepping onto set, I came in and had like a writer's meeting and like chatted with Jason to see where the character is at and what they were wanting to do with it. And that was the first time that I heard anything. So that was really fun.
I mean, obviously, you've got to meet some, the amazing cast that are on that show at the moment, and some of the new cast, and you've got to work a lot with, people like Lucinda Armstrong Hall, who you'd never worked with before, Ben Jackson, who of course plays Max Ramsey, and then getting to work with Peter O'Brien, who's obviously returned as Shane. What's that been like?
Oh, honestly, everyone, I loved everyone so, so much, like phenomenally. Lucinda is so phenomenal. I have the biggest soft spot for her. She reminds me of me when I was younger, and I really love her. She was so wonderful. She was so professional. Ben is like the funniest man. I feel like we are cousins in real life, and he will say that and vouch for me. I started to really call him cuz and like really enjoy that. Peter O'Brien was absolutely amazing. He's more of like a serious actor working on set, and I'm quite playful, so I was just always like teasing him and like trying to get on in there, and I really loved getting to play around with him, and it just felt absolutely amazing. There were so many people that I got to work with that was amazing. Like Zave's absolutely incredible, and he's also with my agent too. So I hadn't met him in person. So getting to finally meet after my agent has told me how amazing he is, to meet him in person and get to work with him. He's so talented. Like everyone is. It was so wonderful to because it's kind of like coming back as the same character, but you're on a different set with different people. So it's like doing a completely different job, which is what I like to do because it's different people to play around with and see what the on-screen dynamic is, which was wonderful.
And I love with Roxy as well that she's kind of got, she's loved by everyone. And I mean, like the scenes you got to do with like Matt Wilson, Tim Carno, getting and then meeting
Yeah.
Magella Davis's character Krista, that was fantastic as well. You must love all of that.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. It was so phenomenal. Like it's just like, and also because it's kind of like she is Leo's wife. I'm like, oh, it just felt like I was meeting her and she was just like the best person in the world. Also, do you know who's texting me right now and my phone keeps binging
Go
and
on then.
distracting me? Gemma Donovan is texting me right now. She just tried to call me and I'm
we
like,
we
girl,
should
I'm like,
we should try and get her to join the call. That'd be fantastic.
definitely. You can keep her in this interview, that little section, and go, Gemma, you're next, okay?
You should tell her to get in touch with me. I'd love to have her on. And funnily enough, I live in a place called Aylesbury, and her dad literally performed at our local venue, and she was at the venue in Aylesbury's Waterside Theatre.
Yes. Was that the event where she also sang?
I believe so. I believe so. I wasn't there, but yeah, literally,
Oh, I'm
she's
pretty
doing
sure
so well.
she's doing so well. I'm so proud of her. And yes, I have heard all about that. She's been telling me all about that, and I've seen the little pictures. Just phenomenal, phenomenal human.
I
But
mean,
yes, back to
I,
what were
I
you
was
going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say the amazing thing with Neighbours is, and that proved it, is that you still get to keep in touch with so many people that even aren't a part of the show anymore. They're always going to be linked to the show because I think anyone on Neighbours, you'll always have that connection. And what's that like? Just you can be apart from someone for years, but you'll always get back to that friendship and that communication and everything.
Honestly, I can say from like the bottom of my heart, like I have a couple of best friends from Tasmania from me growing up that I've kept forever. In the same regards, I have like two best friends who I love with my whole heart that have been with me through my whole life. And then Neighbours kind of brought that same element alive. Those people, like I speak to Gemma and Liv Junkia and Richie Morris probably like every single week. They are my family, and obviously everyone else, but like I won't text them, annoy them as much because those three are like my best friends. And we talk each other through the auditions that we're doing, the things that we're doing. And it's so wonderful to be able to go back and be like, do you remember when we were working 24/7 with each other and the girls would always be at my house? I'd be cooking them dinner and doing all these things. And Liv and Jem are both in the UK now. So they keep on wanting me to come over so that I can go and cook for them over there.
You should definitely come. You should definitely come back over. But as well as that, there's such a core, love for the show from not just here in the UK the show is loved. We know that. But in the industry over in Australia, I believe there's such a respect for shows like Neighbours because of what they do and the training ground they are for people. And I mean, you must love it going back, and you're able to kind of help the younger cast who maybe aren't as experienced as you are. So is that quite nice to be able to give back a bit?
It really was. In all honesty, like stepping back on, I felt even because I started so young. I mean, I was so green. I was probably what, like 20 years old when I first started. And to step back on as nearly a 27-year-old, I think I was 26, like it was like, wow. And everyone respected me as if I was like in the Hall of Fame. I was like, whoa. And they were like, oh, it's so wonderful to have you back. It's so amazing. I also was help Scott Major. He had to jump onto a little director's attachment with him as well and like see it from the other side of things. And because I've had that experience beforehand, it's like everyone trusts me and everyone trusts and respects me as a person, which is something that you don't often get to feel in those industries. And it's only when you're there for such a long period of time that you can feel respected and trusted, but also be able to handle it and not feel that that's overwhelming. It just felt amazing. Like Witsy's one of the camera guys, to get to chat with him, to just get to be like, Oh, I remember. Oh, I remember about like the way that you shoot this or that you need me to be on this mark at this time. And then to have a look at the other people that haven't been there and be like, oh, yeah, I really learned a lot when I was here. It was
Now,
just the most rewarding thing in the world.
Now, obviously, we'll talk a bit about some of the sort of things that have happened since you come back, because obviously one of the big storylines was trying to get Susan sacked. I mean, that's never going to end well. I mean, were you sort of was there reservations about that and because obviously Jackie Woodburn is loved by everyone. So what was that like to kind of be a little bit sneaky and a bit naughty there?
Well, that was just, in all honesty, I just like let go of any judgment that I had towards Roxy because I was like, it is bad. And I'm like, and also she really loves Susan. So I'm like, why would she be doing this? But all I could think in my head is like, it's that thing of like when you're playing a villain, you just like give it meaning and you give it, substance that you think you're doing the right thing. So I was like, well, she's old. She doesn't want to work anymore. How about I just make it easier and then I get to work here too. Give her a break, give me a job. I was like, I mean, it's fine. Some of the things I was a bit like, oh, I wouldn't like to me, I was like, Roxy wouldn't do this. But I was like, hey, I'll just let it slide. And what I loved about it so far is just kind of like in the way that like if she gets caught out as a human, whenever she's in trouble, she's like, yeah, I am sorry. I should have done better. And then she learns from it. And I'm like, so I just went about that she was just impulsively flying through thinking that she's doing the best thing in the world. And she loves Susan. She's great. She was just like, she doesn't need a job anymore. I do.
I mean, the other great interaction that we had recently was Vera Punt when she first sees Roxy, and I mean, Sally Ann Upton is gorgeous, and I mean, what you must love that sort of like fun kind of scenes you get to do.
Sally was also our nurse all through COVID. So that woman, I was singing to her every time I arrived in my car to set. She made life during COVID filming 10 times better. So the love I have for that woman, beyond compare, I could not love more that they got us to play together. And we just like really bounced off each other. And I love doing unserious work. Like I obviously for some reason I'm really good at crying and I'm really good at the drama, but I loved that I got to play with her so much because our energies just collide in the most wonderful way. Brought me all the way back to when I threw my bra in her face. It was wonderful.
I mean, one of the big storylines for obviously this week with the anniversary week, we know that there's going to be a fire. We won't give too much away, but getting to do more stunts, like you say, that must have been quite good fun. And getting to do more with, the likes of Ben, in working with people like Hannah Monson, who I don't think would have worked with previously. So what was that like?
Oh, so amazing. So amazing. And there's something when you're doing serious things and serious stunts where everyone has to switch on, you just get even closer. And there's a different level of respect. And it's also, we had such a beautiful moment. I won't explain what was going on in the scenario, but I was with a large group of the cast and we were looking around and in between takes, and it's like we were just in a situation that you could not even imagine. And we're all just pretending to be really devastated or to be like, and I'm like looking around thinking, and I said to Hannah, I was like, this is our job. Like, we're just playing pretend right now. We, we're grown adults pretending that we're upset about something that isn't real. And I'm like, this is nuts. Sometimes whenever I do it, especially when it's large scale stunts or experiences like that, I'm like, wow, that's just the funnest thing you could ever do as your career.
And I mean, it must be such an honor to have been asked back for the 40th, because obviously, it's such a big, a big celebration and such a big milestone. So to be included, you must have felt so honored to have been asked.
Yeah, I did feel really honored. I felt really honored and I felt really welcomed. And I felt that it was just such a wonderful way to remember my character as well. I felt so glad that they asked me. I was like, wow, of course, I'll be there.
And I mean, do we know how long you're back for? Are we able to say, do you know?
I can't say anything. That's all I'm going to say. I actually don't know what I'm allowed to say or not say. You're the one guiding me, so I'm just going to say, I don't know.
No, that's absolutely fine. Now, obviously, we will briefly touch upon the fact that the show is coming to an end again. I mean,
Yes.
what is that like when? Because I mean, obviously, I imagine, you heard the news just like everyone else, which we won't go into. That was an awful way for cast and crew to find out because I don't really agree with it. But I mean, to have to go through this all over again, the kind of loss of a show, and I mean, the fans will do what they always do and will fight for that show. But for you as being part of the cast, that must be disappointing and sad to know that the show that everyone knows and loves will have to go through this whole thing again of it's coming to an end.
Yeah, it feels like deja vu. I feel like I definitely mourned it in the Ray last time, and now it kind of feels like I'm glad that I have the chance to be here once again. That's what it feels like. It's more gratitude. And I more so look towards all of the crew. Like, obviously, the cast is so amazing, but the crew works so hard. And it's a difficult job to do, and they are so wonderful, and it not only gives us such like space to become better actors, it gives them a solid job. It gives them a job that's constant work that can be really difficult in the industry. So more so my heart goes out to all of the crew for it to end, that it's jobs that they've been in for such a long period of time, that they deserve those jobs because they work so hard. As an actor, we can move on and we can do other jobs and other like gigs, and our job is to be so malleable, so things change. We need to be built to be able to drop anything at the moment and take on a different character, or to be rejected at any moment. That is the path of what an actor is. Whereas for crew, that's their job. That's their full-time job that they choose to. And so now then they have to go out and find, and we already know TV shows are quite sparse in full-time jobs. So I always think about the crew first with that. And that's where my heart is the most with them.
Now, I just want to say, Zimmer, we're sort of coming towards the end, but I just want to say thank you for being, as ever, an amazing guest. Obviously, people need to keep watching Neighbours, right through until December when it comes off the air, and fingers crossed for someone to come and save it. But Zimmer, thank you so much for joining me. You are welcome back anytime. And for the kind of the remaining few months of Neighbours, what would you like? How would you like to see the show wrapped up? As it comes to the end, if you had control of it.
Do you know what? I was talking to Jason about this. If I had control of the show, I'd be doing some mad ass stunts. That's what I want. I was like, let me be in a car crash, Jason. Let me just set everything on fire and the cars are going crazy. I would want more stunts, and I'd want to be in the stunts. Really cool stunts. So it's action, and then I can get my action reel going. That's what I asked the man for.
Fingers crossed for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zimmer. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much, Matthew. I adore speaking to you. You're such a great interviewer.
Perfect. I'll stop that there. But no, thank you.